So I did enjoy a lot of the parts of the movie. I actually liked the musical part, and I mean, with Lady Gaga being Harley, she has to sing. You're not going to spend the money to have her on the movie and then her not sing.
That would be really funny, but a complete waste of time.
It's like hiring Nicolas Cage to act and not giving him any lines of dialogue. Oh wait.
But there was a very big stretch of period where he's getting to know Harley that almost felt like it was too long.
Mm-hmm.
For me. Like there was a lot of back and forth and a very, very, I don't want to say awkward sex scene, but
it's awkward because it's true.
Hang on. Nothing beats Adam Driver, and I was thinking about you this whole time, Alexis. Nothing beats Adam Driver and Lady Gaga in House of Gucci in terms of most awkward sex scene captured on film.
Well, I've seen.
I trust me. I actually was thinking the same thing during that sex scene in Solitary Confinement. I was like, well, at least it's not as painful as Lady Gaga's previous love scene.
They seem like
I watched Cameron Diaz do that to a car. I don't want to hear it from you guys.
I watched that. And I'm like, well, that seems like two half-crazed people fucking in a cell. That seems fine, as opposed to what Adam Driver and Lady Gaga did in House of Gucci, where it was like they let two dogs out on each other with a piece of meat, and you're like, well, whatever happens, happens. You can keep going.
And so whenever he has this break after like he gets beat up after coming back from the trial, doing it his way, being his own lawyer, I guess. I almost expected him to snap more. Like Arthur is not there anymore, but that they went a totally different direction, which is fine. It's not what I was expecting. I feel like it would almost be better that way. But
there's a lot that would have made this better.
But the ending, my jaw was literally dropped for like 2 minutes.
This was her face.
The whole time. As soon as he stabs him, I was just I couldn't believe it. And then I was like, it could be like them wanting to do more sequels with having this new Joker. Arthur is not relevant anymore. And then because he doesn't want to do it anymore, he just wants to be Arthur.
So, Robert, you mentioned about how gorgeous the cinematography was in the first movie. I want to build off of that because this movie was beautiful to look at. The fantasy sequences are gorgeous. I mean, majority of this movie is shot in either a prison or a courtroom, and they really do an amazing job with it. I absolutely loved how gorgeous it was. Specifically, the scene where they sing "The Joker." That's where Arthur basically breaks and decides to represent himself. I love the use of the spotlight and the backlight on him, especially the moment when he goes up, smashes the judge's head in, and you have the backlight behind him, framing him, the spotlight still building on him, and the light slowly dims as he pulls out the gun to show it. It is very theatrical, and it's very well done. So I don't know who was in charge of production design for this movie, but all I can do is applaud because it is so gorgeous to look at. And yeah, I walked out of this movie actually really having enjoyed it. I can understand some of what some people are complaining about. I don't get so many of the complaints saying that's not Harley Quinn. It's like it wasn't Joker from the comics in the first movie. So why were we expecting this to be a comic faithful Harley Quinn?
That's a nothing complaint, to be if we're going to be honest about that.
But it's something I've seen pop up over and over again. I'm just like, I don't get why you guys were expecting that. For me, I think I enjoyed it the most because I feel that what we see Arthur and Lee go through, the love of a fantasy, is something that we have seen become so much more prevalent in our society. We are a media-driven society, and we exist watching things online, on TV, in movies.
Can I make a small amendment to that statement? We are an escapism-driven culture.
Okay, you know what? That's a good way to put it. I'll take that amendment. Lee is a character who has fallen in love with this version of Joker she saw. They mention about this TV movie that they made in the 3 years. They confirmed this takes place 3 years after the end of the first movie. He's been in prison for 3 years waiting trial. And she has seen this TV movie based off of him a million times. She's fallen in love with the character that she saw in that movie. She doesn't know the real Arthur. And Arthur doesn't know the real Lee. They have fallen in love with this fantasy, hence the folie à deux. And I think this is something that a lot of people, unfortunately, fall into in our society. Again, it's an escapism thing. They see a fantasy and they have trouble pulling away from that. They want to be a part of that. We see actors playing characters in movies, and we can very easily forget that's not an actor playing a character. We just want to be with that character.
Dorian, good old Holly over there. You sexy thing, you. Give it to me, baby.
I'm gonna bounce off a lot of what's already been said, but I'm gonna take it in a different path. I don't hate this movie. I'm going to where was it here? There was a comment. I believe it was by okay, I'm sorry, I cannot find it. I apologize, whoever said this. It was like said that we don't feel like this movie feel like this movie is more disappointing than it is trash, and I would definitely disagree with that. I'm also going by Tyler T. Sorry, Tyler. But I'm also going to quote Canvas Content, who actually
Sean.
Sean, who I completely agree with, which is a great bouncing off point what I was already going to say. I feel like the Joker character in general has gone from being an intriguing societal mirror to the laziest possible difficulty setting for writing. And I have to agree a little bit, because the character doesn't go anywhere. It's he's exactly the same way he was in the first movie, where he's quiet at first and then he snaps and everything goes crazy. And, at the end, even like he's back in the police car and stuff like that, blah, blah. Without fanficking this and being like, well, if I had directed the movie, here's what it would have been. There's so many issues with characterization. People saying hashtag not my Harley. It's like, okay, you know what? When we did that for Luke Skywalker, I will dance to you all nights, or dance with you all nights to that point of view. But we're not talking Star Wars right now. But no. So again, it's I enjoyed this version of Harley, especially when they reveal like she's a psychiatry major. She wanted to meet him. That very ties in close to the original Harley Quinn character from the comics. Also with taking it in a different direction, much as the first movie did. I'm fine with that. Arthur again in my opinion, became the co-star in his own movie, which if that had been the points, fine. The title itself, Joker Folie à deux. Folie à deux means a madness shared between two. They had the elements to do this if they had made it more about Harley going nuts, or Lee going nuts and becoming Harley, and had Joker still insane. Like, again, you can have him quiet, but he can have that smoldering insanity where he's just waiting. It's like a coiled snake.
The fact that this movie takes the first hour and like 10 to 20 minutes to just redo the first movie in terms of the character arc is a giant problem.
A madness shared between two. When the minute they said Assistant District Attorney Harvey Dent, I went, oh shit, here we go. We're going to kick out the jams here, because Harvey from the comic books has kind of the same issue. He's got like this suppressed version of himself, a different version that will eventually become Two-Face. And had they played this more, I think, since the first movie is an homage up to Taxi Driver and King of Comedy, if this had been an homage to like Silence of the Lambs and a similar kind of a darker musical, maybe in the way of like Repo the Genetic Opera or Sweeney Todd, where you use your insanity for this, I think it would have been great. Again, I enjoyed parts of it. Again, as always, the movies, the cinematographer for this is genius. He lights his scenes correctly. I mean, even with the again, we've talked about, maybe this is all just a dream. when they have the overhead shot of them walking him through the rain and they've got their umbrellas and he's just getting drenched and they're all different color umbrellas. It's like, yeah, we may not be in the world we think we are. Blah, blah, blah. It's beautiful. And I know they were trying something new, which I'll always support, but this needed more time in production. Even just the director coming out and going, guys, we have something really great for you. I know you've been excited. We've been talking about it. It doesn't seem like it's happening. It is. We are fine tuning this blade so that it can be exactly, it can be different from the first movie, but still something that continues the world. Since I talked about Harvey Dent, I want to stop there very, very quickly. Whoever the fuck wrote Harvey Dent's character and dialogue, I want to smack with the gigantic gavel that the Joker killed the judge with. Because they show me a Harvey Dent on TV, I'm like, that's Harvey Dent. Now again, they've strayed from the comic books already, and I'm fine with that. I always enjoy, because we've been telling Two-Face and Joker and Harley stories. I mean, Harley only for about 30 years now, because she appears in 1992 via the Batman animated series first. That's her first, time on screen. But we've at least been telling Joker and Two-Face stories for about 50 years, with the latter, with Two-Face coming later in the game. He is always supposed to be the paragon of justice who gets so pissed and wants to snap. And again, that's the other side of the coin, no pun intended, to Joker. If they had given me scenes of Dent talking to the Joker or, Arthur in prison and being like, I'm going to take you down for this. You murdered people, but he kind of keeps vacillating back and forth. It's like, I don't want to have to kill you, but if that's what the state does, you can almost see the beginnings of Two-Face happening. And I apologize. I'm not trying to fanfic here. The issue I had with Harvey Dent is it doesn't feel like Harvey Dent. Call him literally anything else.
I'm 100% convinced that he was called something else when they wrote the script. It was not supposed to be Harvey Dent. And someone in the studio said, okay, so you have this. Why don't we make it Harvey Dent so then the fans can pull a Captain America and go, I understood that reference.
Yeah, right. I would 100% agree with that. I don't think he was written in the original, and he's in that. The Harvey Dent's inclusion's a studio note.
Yeah, and the ash and burn on the face again. That was definitely look, see, audience, see, we get it. It's like, I will admit that was a stupid idea. It was not done to further the character or develop the DC universe. It was done as a snap, grin, grin, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, say no more.
Right. Get it, got it, good. Got that, audience? But sorry, Michaela.
So what if I shake your hand thusly?
So that just really bugged me because, again, I don't mind them going away from the character a little bit, as they've done with Arthur Fleck and Harley Quinn very, very well, in my opinion. I was just insulted. I mean, I'm not a huge Harvey Dent fan, but I've always found the character very, very interesting. And in a movie like this, where we're dealing with duality and, again, the madness shared between two, that's a gold mine. If they had made him, again, if we're going to go different, make him a civil defense lawyer who has to be Joker's, he's like, what part of your Miranda rights is, if you cannot afford an attorney, one will be, given to you by the state. It would have been so much cooler to put Harvey as, I don't like you, I don't want to do this, but it is my civic duty to represent you as you are a human being that needs this. And not to set up more like, and next we'll do a Two-Face standalone movie. And, I'm glad they didn't go so crazy with all the people in Arkham. Like when the skinny dude came up to him and was like, Arthur, I was like, don't do this to me. Don't do this to me. Because I was so terrified. He was going to look up and go, yes, Jonathan? And be like, oh, good. There's Scarecrow. Fantastic. Here we go.
Fucking Where's Waldo of Batman Rogue Gallery.
Oh, look. That's Carlo. It's
Circle that one. There's Firefly. Oh, I see you.
Fucking Lady Gaga turns to the camera and goes, can you find all the villains we're going to do spins off of?
Honestly, I would have loved that.
Comes a fucking Dora the Explorer episode. Where's the Scarecrow? There he is.
Can you say J for Joker? I bet you can.
Yes. Oh. God, now I want him to make that movie.
Yeah, really,
I'm like,
what if Sesame Street but Batman villains? Keep going.
Right.
You know that book already
how
exists.
to get to Arkham Street. Would be interested, and I told Michaela about this because after we watched the first one, we were kind of talking about it in progression for this one. I enjoyed what the first movie did, and because, in my opinion, it and I'll kind of wrap up with this as my last point on not only the first movie, but also this one. instead of going with a trend that I have brought up before on different shows where it's like, oh, it's okay that the Joker has murdered hundreds of people, even though at this point he's only murdered 6, because his life was really shitty. Okay, dude, I'm an abused kid, real life. If I go out and I murder 10 people, my ass is going to jail. That's the game. We're done, go home. Your traumas are important and they should be understood by people and taken into consideration, but your actions also tie into that. In the first movie, what was beautiful about it is they didn't paint him as a hero. Even the scenes where he's on top of the police car and he's like, got his arms spread and everyone's cheering for him. It's like, you have turned in to a monster that is bringing out the monster in everyone. Again, with Two-Face in this movie, Harvey Dent in this movie, I thought that's where they were going. Bringing out the Joker brings out the evil in people. It's what he's always done. When he breaks Harley in the original storyline, that's, maybe that evil was already in Harley. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe, but he made it grow and blah, blah, blah. This Arthur, again, takes a backseat in his own movie, and he becomes this lovelorn idiot, which is fine.
It's the only kind of movie Hollywood knows how to write now. Mm-hmm. One where men pine for women, and that's all they are.
And I say this very guardedly to any fans who are also abused, especially to all the girls out there who have been abused. One of the things that it seems Hollywood is refusing to do anymore is when a relationship is toxic and bad, we have to change it and make it nice. When they did Suicide Squad, they did the same thing with Joker and Harley and made it this more, in the deleted scenes, he's more of a dick to her, but, this kind of loving romance. Sorry, one of the comments.
Yeah, I thought.
The issue with, and if they were going to make Harley more the, which they've done before, the Telltale series of Batman made Harley more the main villain, and Joker would slow, depending on your decisions as Batman in that game, he would either stay on the good side and you'd rewrite history, or he falls into, the abyss of madness that will turn him into the clown prince of crime. Overall, once again, Joaquin Phoenix kicking ass, taking names of his performance. He never misses a beat. He's on the entire time. Lady Gaga has already shown us she's a magnificent actor. She does a fantastic Harley. And I know at least 2 people directly that way are going to disagree with this, but I'd love to see a third movie with whoever this new kid is, who's the Joker. If we're going to continue this, let's do it, but let's get a director who actually likes what we're doing and continue down this kind of 7 meets. That's the other movie I was thinking about. If this movie had been more based on Silence of the Lambs meets 7 with a musical flair, it would have been terrifying and awesome. I'm done talking for now.
Oh, you're good. Let me start with what I did kind of think is what I do think is worthwhile, praiseworthy about this movie. It's very, very obvious there's things about this movie that people really cared about. You don't get really good production design like this out of people just phoning it in. They went out of their way to make Arkham feel like a place. We don't see much of it, but it feels like a real place. The stage musical numbers are very well put together. They're very well constructed. They're very well shot. There's enough care going on here that it makes me really equal parts sad, frustrated, and a little bit angry. That's way down at the bottom. That the story they have here is so bad.
Yeah.
There's a lot good about this, about what's going on here. Joaquin Phoenix's performance, it's not quite what it was the first time around, but he's not working with a stronger material. So what are you going to do?
Correct.
Lady Gaga does a really good job. Very quickly, to the Not My Harley crowd, this is a perfectly acceptable variation on Harley Quinn. I don't know what you're going after here. This is not a version of the character that is demeaning to it. It's a different version, and there's a distinction there that's deeply important. What we have here is a slight inversion of the normal dynamic. The normal dynamic between these two is Joker seduces Harley into insanity. That's broadly. That's how that goes. This is more Arthur's almost sort of trying to recover, and Harley brings out the bad side of him. The worst impulses of the Joker inspired Harley, and that's what she's now attracted to. So anytime they're around each other, that's what she wants out of him.
By the way, 20 years ago or 20 years from now, if you want to do that with this character, it probably works just fine. Doing it now is more of the same of what we're already getting of we give everything to the woman character and, we cripple the men character. And it's like, I can understand why people are just like, ugh, again with this.
Well, yeah, to your point, it's not that it's done badly here, it's the
Right.
atmosphere into which it's released.
Yeah.
But
and if I can, sorry.
No,
go ahead.
If I can interject, because to my understanding, the whole Hurley and Joker dynamic was he was always shitty to her, but the whole time during this movie, she was shitty to him. Correct. So that was an interesting flip.
Right, and we're agreeing with it. We're saying that the audience's reaction to it is unfortunate. It's unfortunately marred by a lot of the same dynamics in other movies and television shows all over the goddamn place.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Taken by itself, it is interesting. It's an interesting flip on that dynamic. Unfortunately, it exists in the world in which that sort of thing is being done to death currently.
Yeah. So, but to the people complaining about that dynamic existing in general, you're missing the forest for the trees here, guys. This is a different iteration of Joker. It's a different iteration of Harley. The question you need to ask yourself is, does it stay true to what the character represents, whether or not it follows the same? Because it's not going to be one for one, but is it still functionally identifiable as the same character? And the answer is yes. This is still undeniably Harley Quinn. So that's a very misguided critique of the film, especially when there's other things to complain about.
That's such a forest, a smorgasbord of things to shit on. Why stop there?
a little bit. So,
Robert, don't fill up on bread. There's still dinner.
The handling of Arthur as a character is, I think, my biggest problem here. This almost feels, I'm going to crib from somebody else who said this. I can't remember where I heard it, so I apologize. But this almost feels like not a sequel to Joker, but a retelling of Joker rather than a continuation. Yeah. We're just starting and we stopped and we've restarted instead of continued.
Robert, can I jump in real quick? You're absolutely right. This feels like more someone doing a fan film, like a high school choir wanted to do a whole bunch of like.
I'll go you one better. It feels like Todd Phillips redoing the first one so that maybe this time people will get the right message.
That's even better. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what's going on here, like character-wise, arc-wise, and it makes a lot of this a waste of time.
Yeah.
When the first hour is redoing the first movie, and not only redoing it in terms of the character progression, but we achieve that via revisiting everything that happened in the first movie, because we've wasted everyone's time. You've also. And I get this might have been intentional, so my complaint here is not so much that this is incompetence, but it's a artistic direction I disagree with. When you take away some of the unreality of the first movie, you're like retroactively making it worse. Part of what makes Joker so good is there's so much of it that you wind up questioning, wait, really? This is described as a musical by the internet, but everyone involved in the making it said it's kind of a musical rather than it is a musical. It is more kind of a musical than a musical.
It's definitely a jukebox musical where it's like, let's spin the storyline around this song we want to use because it's the only song we know that has a chorus that says, I am the Joker.
It's not even like good musical numbers. I'm not saying they're not enjoyable, but it's very disjointed in a way that is... I don't mind expectations being subverted. Good subversion makes you think. I say that to point out like the good subversion and the bad subversion. The good subversion here is not to take the audience and go, hey, you liked the gritty realism of the first one? Here's musicals. That's discordant in a way that is not subversive. It's simply petty.
I'm going to cut in here because there was a conversation going on in the chat. And I don't want to go all the way waste time going through it, but It was something along. I said to the commenter, I said this felt like in a conversation on the development of this movie, they kind of did a producer's thing of what can we think of in ways that will tank this movie, and someone went jukebox musical.
Not horrible, not entirely wrong. Not entirely wrong at all.
I think that same commenter also said this movie felt like somebody showed Todd Browning Reddit for the first time and he went, "Oh shit, what have I done?"
that was Sean. It was a different thing, but yes.
Yeah, Todd Phillips, what a but really the biggest flaw here is the story. The fact that we take a lot of time trying to take Joker on the same arc as the original to a much worse conclusion. I don't just mean that he dies. I mean to a much less satisfactory. Him being locked up in Arkham Asylum at the end of the first one that's not a good ending. And the fact that this time around the impulse was, well, what else can I do to this character? Oh, I can kill him. There's a decent part of me that thinks Todd Phillips had to be talked out of recreating Negan killing that guy from The Walking Dead with a baseball bat. There's good production elements to this movie. There's very good acting. I mean, I mentioned Brendan Gleeson for a reason. I feel like his direction was, you're not supposed to play this character. You're supposed to play Arthur's perception of this character. Because at times he's very upbeat. He's more friendly. And then at times he's a very sadistic, very, bullying, looming, almost maniacal figure. And to the point where it feels, once again, a little bit out of step with reality. But I feel like the direction there was, here's the character. Don't play the character. Play how Arthur is reacting to this character. Yeah, I don't. The ending's the weird one because calling the rest of the movie into question, then getting stabbed by someone who is in theory going to go on to become the Joker. I don't mind Arthur Fleck dying at the end of this one. I wouldn't have been opposed to him dying at the end of the first one, for being honest. Part of the problem is the way this one goes about it. It's not so much that it happens. It's how we got there and sort of how it's executed. The fact that the last musical number that he thinks sings as he's dying is "I need someone to take my place" was a really weird choice there. We don't need it to be that on the nose. We're going to see the guy carve his face up. Having that be kind of the last thing that goes through this character's head was
because if you weren't disappointed by him not wanting to be the Joker, the director really wants to make sure this character doesn't want to be what you think he is, like something else.
I don't actually know where I fall on Death of the Author and authorial intent. That's I go back and forth on that one a little bit, but when you have so badly removed ambiguity and you have so badly removed artistic interpretation or audience interaction with your piece, I don't quite know what to say to you. This is a little bit like, hey, come see this movie and pay $5, and it's Todd Phillips smacking you in the face.
Yeah, which if I want a pretentious douchebag to abuse me, I know where to get that. I know exactly where to get that and how much it's going to cost me. That's not what I went here for. You as the merchant are obligated to sell me what I am paying for, not what you think you want to sell me.